French onion soup, one of my favorites. A deep, rich bowl of goodness topped with crunchy bread and bubbling golden cheese. Now we've got our onions, we've got our wine, we've got a touch of Gruyere and a good hit of thyme. A true classic and a perfect midweek meal to get you going. French onion soup, let's get it. So naturally, when you're making French onion soup, the first thing that we have to do is cut all the onions. I'm sure you will agree this is a lot of onions. To cut a lot of onions, you need a great process. Now in professional kitchens, we work left to right. So start with the onions on the left, knife in hand, and you do all the cutting jobs. So that's top off, root off, and in half. Once they're at that stage, they go to the next bowl. All the trim, root and top, goes into your bin. Now once you're at the stage where all the onions are cut in half and the knife work is done, swap them over, and then they go back through the conveyor belt. This time, just taking the skins off. So now your onions are in half, all you gotta do is slice them up. Now, you can do this one or two ways. You can pick your sharpest blade, onion down to the board, root side away from the knife, taking long, thin slices till you're only left with the root. Or you can get yourself one of these. Now this is a Japanese mandolin. It allows you to create super thin slices. So for a soup like this, it's absolutely perfect. Get your bowl, put your Japanese mandolin over the top. Then you take your onion and slice. Easy as that. So with the mandolin, it's a lot easier. Just watch your fingers. And now you're left with this, a massive bowl of beautifully sliced onion. The reason we've got it thin, and also the reason we've done it through the grain, so we get these lovely little semicircles, is so it sweats down easier. It releases its moisture, allowing the sugars to begin to caramelize. Now the sweating down and the caramelization of these onions is gonna take a good amount of time. So what do I want? I want the heavy based bottom pan that's gonna give me consistent heat around the base of that thing. So you don't get many hot spots and you've got less chance of it burning. We're gonna hit that with a splash of oil and a couple of good cubes of butter. Now when your pan's on the heat, you wanna slowly bring it up to foaming. So once your butter's got its bubble on, add your onions. Now what seems like a lot of onions at this stage is actually going to cook down to about half of the volume. Once the moisture has come out of the onion and it's started to reduce in size, the flavour will be concentrated. You'll get those sugars starting to caramelize. We're going to start bolstering the base with a good pinch of black pepper and a hit of salt. This is going to take time to sweat and then start to caramelize, so you get properly caramelized, deep flavoured onions. So don't go too fast, be patient, stir and give some love. So this stage of the cooking is the most important bit. It's the colour, it's the caramelization, the slow sweating and then browning of those onions builds the base for a proper French onion soup. What you're gonna have now is kind of like semi-translucent, little bit floppy, looking like sauteed more so than caramelized, but keep the heat up in a heavy bottom pan, controlling the moves. Now don't get me wrong, this soup is a labour of love. And the stage that we're at the minute, caramelizing down the onions, is going to take a while. So there's a couple of things you can do in the meantime. We want to get our baguette beautifully crisped into croutons and our cheese grated. Go for Gruyere. It's classic, it's traditional. It melts into a beautiful, deep, stringy sort of layer of goodness. Simply grated, leave that to one side. To make our croutons, get a French baguette. This is a day old. Down onto your board. Now take your knife at an angle and just slice through, creating these thick croutons. Line those up on your tray, drizzle with olive oil, and then add a good hit of salt and pepper. We're gonna pop these in a 200-degree oven for about 5 to 6 minutes. Now at this stage, we've started to build a base layer of color. Caramelization will happen at the bottom of the pan, and as you mix and stir it around, it deglazes and taints the onions, starting to turn them slight shade brown. We add thyme and a good hit of grated garlic. With the croutons out of the oven, golden brown and crunchy, just to increase the flavor, we're gonna add the scrapings of 1 garlic clove. So cut it in half, and then you take your crouton, use the garlic clove, and you sort of scrub over the top and transfer that flavor over. Now the onions are getting very close to being finished. Parts of them are deep dark, golden brown. Now to be honest, this is a stage where most would say it's ready, but it's not. You need to go deep with the onions, yeah? Really dark, golden brown in order to get the real flavor. And when you get to this stage now, If you remember how many onions were in this pan when we first started cooking, they've concentrated to about 1/3 of their volume. And you end up with this almost like onion toffee at the bottom of the pan. Completely golden. These are properly deep, dark, caramelized onions. So what have we got in the pan? We've got onions caramelized, and that is where we get our sweetness. We've got garlic, we've got thyme, aromatic flavors. Now we need a touch of acidity, and that comes from our friend white wine. 1 glass straight into the pan. Now you've got some moisture in there to protect that sugar from caramelizing any further. You can turn the heat up, start to reduce. Add a little bit of brandy for Nan, but that's optional. Because the depth of the onions are so small and the white wine is emulsified with the fat and the sugar, it's hard to know when it's reduced. So what you've got to do is use your nose. Get your head over it, and if it makes you cough, go a bit lightheaded, it needs a bit longer. But what you should be able to smell is the deep roasted flavor of onion with a subtle kick of wine. And at that stage, we know we're reduced, we know the alcohol has been eradicated, and we can have the stock. I use half beef stock and half chicken stock because I feel like if you use all beef stock, it becomes a bit too beefy. And if you use all chicken stock, you lack that depth of flavor. If you want to make them yourself, if we get 20 comments saying make stock, I will do some stock videos for you guys at home. Now I want to reduce until I'm happy with the flavor. Reduction is key in French cookery. It's the concentration of flavor, the eradication of water, and the bolstering of that home comfort goodness. Now when you're making French onion soup, there are a couple of different varieties. You've got your proper heritage French variety, Tropea, Roscoff, and they're your big dog French onion soup contenders. Now, if you go to the local supermarket and you've got brown onions in there, they're probably the best bet. High in sugar, deep in flavor, and a good all-round cheap onion. Now the soup's reduced, the beef, the onion, the wine, the thyme, the garlic, all of the flavors have combined perfectly and been intensified into this beautiful pan of brown onion. Now, classically in France, you get soup bowls, big, thick porcelain beauties with handles, perfect for soup. Unfortunately, I haven't got one, so I'm making do with an oven-safe cereal bowl. We take our bowl, ladle our soup in generously. Next, we take our Gruyere cheese that we grated earlier, place that straight on top. Then, our beautiful crunchy crouton, more cheese over the top. You really want to pile it up. And then a final grating Parmesan. We're going to stick this under a preheated grill for about 4 or 5 minutes, just so it's beautiful and golden brown. And after it's been in the grill, this is what you're looking for. Stunning golden brown, the cheese melted and flecked around the bowl. There you have it, absolutely stunning, warming, classic French onion soup with the proper caramelization of onions, the sharpness of the white wine, the aromat from the thyme and the garlic, good stock, great reduction, and the all-important melted cheese. French onion soup, make sure you have a go. Ah, thank you.